buildings were located.
Weapons
And the clock tower that is in front of us, the tower itself is coming from a 17th century, but the mechanism of this clock that still works perfectly, you can see, the beginning of 19th century. It was imported from Switzerland, and that's not the only reason why it still works perfectly. Beskuća means homeless. Well, they were enormous rich, but they had that family name, homeless. And of course, they were a little bit embarrassed because of that. For example, can you imagine owning such a huge palace walking around Hilltown in a beautiful leather costume with a lot of jewelry, you know, and people are saying, hello, Mr. Homeless. They're not so happy to hear that. And the legend says that they wanted to change their family name. Actually, their idea was to build 100 houses in order to change family name from a Beskuća or homeless to Stotića or 100 homes. So they are building houses all around the old, not only around the old town of Kotor, but around Montenegro, even in Padova in Italy, they owned some palaces, but unfortunately they didn't reach the number of 100. It was Flower Square, because we have some bakeries on the wall over there, yeah. Of course, on this square we have some interesting palaces, like Palace of Pima family that you can see right here, 17th century. Well, this palace is not as big as Palace of a Beskuća family, but still, as you can see, massive there. And interesting because of those two balconies that you can see on the front side. Because compared to the other palaces, you won't find balconies like this. Because usually, you know, they were trying to build a square buildings and Kotor in the middle to separate their private life. Saint Tryphon, or Tripun in our language. Well, this saint is a patron of Kotor. And he is a patron of Kotor since 809. You can see the year on the left bell tower. That was the year when relics of that saint came to Kotor. And of course there is the legend that explains that situation. And it says that ship with the relics of the saint was traveling from Turkey to Italy. But while they were here, you know, carrying the relics, but while they were here in front of Boca Bay, suddenly the great storm had started and they entered Boca Bay to hide from that storm. But every time when they wanted to continue traveling for it, family, you can read the sign over there, 18th century. Well, this palace, actually last member of this palace didn't have descendants, no sons, no daughters, and he didn't know what to do with his home, so it was gift for town of Kotor. And when he died, they installed Maritime Museum, because besides trading, the place is famous for really long seafaring tradition. So today those things that sailors bring from all over the world are located in the museum. That's why we are going to visit it. It will help us to imagine life in Kotor back then 200 years ago. So let's Ottoman Empire was one of the strongest world, not world, but European forces for sure, and they're conquering territories all around east part of Europe and Mediterranean Sea. So Montenegrins had trouble with the Ottoman Empire a long time, and that's why we took a part in that battle on the side of European Christian countries. Then again, Ottoman pirate or Turkish pirate Barbarossa is presented right here. Actually, his attack on Kotor. 1539 was the year when Barbarossa attacked this town with an idea to take the slaves and rob the place, but fortunately he didn't succeed, so you can see ships coming to the old town and leaving Kotor, so Kotor was not captured by Barbarossa. Then over there are some famous local captains, but not famous only in Kotor, we can say famous all around the world, because back then they were commanding the fleets and then they were sailing all around the world, not only here in this area, so we can say that they were worldwide famous. For example, this gentleman here, his name is Mr. Matija Zmajević. He was born here in Kotor and he lived in Kotor. Anyway, accidentally he finished in Russia and he was admiral of Russian fleet of Peter the Great. And his grave is today in St. Petersburg, you know, etc., etc. It means that those are worldwide famous sailors. And this is the most popular one. His name is Mr. Ivo Vizin. He was first a South Slav man that circumnavigated around the world. He did it in 1852, so it was not that early, but It was Austro-Hungarian time here in Kotor, and his ship called Splendid and Mr. Imovism were the first Austro-Hungarian cargo ship that traveled around the world. So it was something special. 1852 was the year. 52. And this is replica of one coat of arms of family Buchan, because almost every family in town had their own coat of arms which they're putting above the palaces. Also they have the stamps to mark the cargo they're selling, etc., etc. So this is replica of coat of arms of one family from here. And then over there is another coat of arms. There. It is a coat of arms of Kotor in Venetian time. St. Mark's Lion, symbol of Venice, and St. Mark's Lion, and St. Tryphon holding town in his hand, symbol of Kotor. So those two symbols were from 15th to 18th century, like coat of arms of this town. You can take a look and we can enter next. Kotor at very end of the bay, as you can see, very well protected shelter, you know, from Adriatic Sea. Then I explained about the name of the bay, and the whole bay is one of 25 the most beautiful bays in the world, but just this inner part of the bay that you can see here is protected as the World Cultural and Natural Heritage. This is the narrowest part of the bay, 300 meters wide, strait called verige, which in our language means the chains, because people from this village were putting chains from one coast to another to block entrance of sailing ships in the inner part of the bay. But why only inner part is the World Heritage? Exactly, there is a hook at the end, so usually it would hang for the purse or part of the dress, and then with the elegant nose, there was a not at all. Can you imagine that?
They did that when it itched.
Yeah, well, exactly. Then beautiful French cloak, Russian samovar, English earthen pots, beautiful ivory decorated furniture over there, which costumes you can find right here. Chairs, frames.
This is so big.
Lovely important thing was if you damage their mast. So front part was fixed, of course, mostly on some high position, you know, on the boat, and of course back part could be moved around. And this is the longest rifle in the room. And those long rifles were used mostly on the fortresses around for long distances. Sometimes they used them in the battles as well, and in that case you need two soldiers, one to shoot and one to carry it on the shoulder. Then different, you know, swords like shotguns you can find over there, and here a collection of swords that is different than the others. You can see the shape and the style. This is because those are Turkish, actually Ottoman yatagans. It is a Turkish style of sword, and those ones here are captured in the battles because it was like the trophy. If you take, you know, such a beautifully decorated sword from some famous Turkish general or pasha, so trophies from the battle, which you know people were having in their homes, and they were telling about the battles and where they captured it, etc., etc. So trophies of local families. And the oldest exponent in the room is this sword here. It's coming from 1400s, and it was made on main square of Kotor. So 1400s made here. And towards the
water pump.
And while they were here, they were chatting about everything what's happening in town.
18th
so this
century.
was kind of news center of
Water pump.
Kotor. Still, the water pump is working, but now we have the pipes and the hooks, so nobody's coming here to take the water. But still we have the magazine called Carampana by this pump that we print only once per year in carnival days in February, and over there you can read local gossips. Actually, they put one mailbox in front of the old town. You can take the paper, write the gossip and put it in that mailbox, and then there is a commission that is checking if they're true or false and choosing the most interesting ones, and then you can read them in the magazine called Carampana by News Center of Kotor, or Gossip Center of Kotor.
What century did you say this is?
18th century.
18th century. Water pumps.
Once a year.
18th century. Water pumps.